Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for helping on. My name is Brandon Minima. I'm a first year radiography student and also a medical writer. So today I have an amazing guest speaker all the way from the US. Her name is Shantel. Hey, Mrs. Shantel, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me in this space. I am Shantel Love. I am a keynote speaker. I am an entrepreneur and an author. And I am the founder of the movement Promote Your Damn Self, which is a space that empowers people to utilize their voice and assert their worth and their value in their career and on spaces like LinkedIn. So I'm super happy to be here.
Amazing. So Chantel, thank you so much for introducing yourself to the audience, and I believe that the audience have an idea about who you are and what you offer to the table. So we have a couple of questions for you to answer. You ready?
Absolutely.
So the first question for you is, can you share your journey and how you became a professional personal brand on LinkedIn? Talk us through.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to start off by saying that over the years, I've been a lot of things. I know I introduced myself as a keynote speaker, an executive, an entrepreneur, but I'm also a mentor, and I have been in the spaces of being the first and the only. And I've had the opportunity over my career to coach and mentor thousands of people. And many of them were looking to get promoted and start businesses. And the number one thing that stood out is the thing that was in their way, and it was their inability to articulate their value. And what I know for a fact is no one can buy from you if they don't know what you have to sell. No one can promote you if they don't know the value that you bring in order to get you promoted. And it led to me creating this brand and this movement called Promote Your Damn Self. And promote your damn self is a pluralismus word. It has multiple meanings. It's a movement that empowers people to speak up for themselves, to assert their value, to assert their worth, and stop hiding in the shadows and build powerful personal brands. That was important to me because I was one of those individuals who hid in the shadows. I didn't necessarily value my worth and I didn't assert myself. But when I started to assert myself, opportunities came. I was able to get promoted. I was able to grow in my career. And I found a passion of teaching others how to do the same. The reason I call this out is because when you think about self promotion and promoting yourself, it goes completely against everything we've been taught. We've been taught to be modest, we've been taught humility. And oftentimes, when you hear something about promoting yourself, you might worry about coming across as arrogant or self centered. But watching others with half of the qualifications get promoted is hard too, right? And most of us operate from a place of comfort. We stick with the things that feel safe. And guess what? Growth, it doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens when you challenge yourself, when you step outside of your comfort zone, and when you embrace the unknown. Just like you, Ransom, doing something like being a medical writer and going to school to get a medical degree, that is not an easy thing to do. And when you think about it, I'm certain that there have been instances where your listeners or your viewers have been held back from asking for a well-deserved pay raise, or maybe they were hesitant to pitch their first client, or perhaps they've even doubted their ability to secure a speaking opportunity or felt intimidated about showing up on LinkedIn. And if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. That's practically why I wrote the book, Promote Your Damn Self, Secrets to Grow Your Personal Brand, because there wasn't any information out there for professionals on building their personal brand. And I help ambitious corporate professionals go from dreaming about entrepreneurships and promotions and building a personal brand to launching profitable coaching business, landing their dream job, and building a personal brand so that they can turn their passion and expertise into sustainable careers and design a lifestyle that aligns with their personal value and make a lasting impact in the industry that they work in beyond their current role. So that's how I got into that space of personal branding and becoming a personal brand.
That was an amazing story you shared to us. Really amazing. You know, because personal brand is really very important in terms of any specialty in personal brand. It speaks for itself. All right. Once you build a personal brand, you don't need to worry about, you have a minimal time for like doing other things like being worried about how to apply for jobs or something.
Yes.
Personal brand also speaks for itself, like I said before. And there's something you mentioned about, you know, because you being a personal, professional personal brand, LinkedIn is because you've been on that phase that you face a lot of imposter syndrome. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you never just became a professional personal brand overnight. And it was a process. You encountered a lot of things along the way that made you to say, "Hey, I want to help others," and you've helped more than thousands of people to
Mm-hmm.
build their personal brand, especially on LinkedIn, which is an amazing stuff to do. Amazing, amazing stuff to do. So that draws me to the next question for you, Chantel. So you mentioned about your book, your damn self movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before we move further, all right, because you're going to talk about the movement, right? Before we move further, could you just talk us through about your book? Tell us more about your book.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. Over the years of mentoring people, um, the term personal branding, I will admit, was relatively new to me. I hadn't heard much about it over the past decade. It was coined as something else. It was coined as be assertive and speak up and let people know who you are. But when I think about the term personal branding, it's like what you said, it's what people say about you when you're not around. And given the fact that it was so challenging for me and my mentees to build personal brands, I wanted to basically create a coaching session at their fingertips that they can use to give them a guide and immediate action steps around how to build their personal brand. And in this book, I go beyond just what the definition of a personal brand is. I speak about and address the elephants in the room. Personal branding is hard, and there isn't an easy way to do it. It takes time. Also, the thing that stands in most people way is the things like imposter syndrome. And I talk about how do you overcome imposter syndrome while building a personal brand. I also address the keys to wealth. I know oftentimes when we hear the word wealth, we think about money, and that's a part of it. But I talk about mental wealth, the importance of focusing on the things that will bring value to you beyond a dollar or beyond any currency. I talk about social wealth, the value and the importance of surrounding yourself by people that can amplify you, promote you, grow you, and put you in rooms that you may not have been in before. And also, I talk about financial wealth. How do you use your God given talents? How do you use your expertise that you've learned in your career and convert that into wealth, something that generates revenue for you while you're sleeping? And I think that's critical because for me, entrepreneurship, economic empowerment, and mentorship are a part of my core values. So instead of being able to sit down and talk with a million or a billion people, I wanted to package all of that into a book and also address the things that are critical, the systemic issues that people can face, mostly women and people of color that face systemic issues. I also wanted to address the hard things, the challenging conversations. Many people hide and they moonlight as something and they don't know how to approach their company or their leaders or HR to have the conversation. I have templates on how to actually have a conversation with your leadership about building your personal brand. And this isn't just something that I put together just for me or for vanity. I believe that there's a great deal of opportunity that many professionals are missing out on. And I wanted to make sure that they had the blueprint, the guide of how to build a personal brand. And while they're doing it, learn exactly how to build wealth, mental wealth, social wealth, and financial wealth, all while learning how to promote your damn self.
That sounds amazing. And, people are going to be wanting this book right now. So if you're really interested in buying the book, the details will be placed on the YouTube, description below as well. So if you wanted to, learn more about building yourself, personal brand, especially in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is not a place for just job seekers, looking for job, it's beyond that, so
Mhm.
there are a lot of opportunities in LinkedIn, you know, too many of them. So, before you attain such goals, you have to build some words of personal branding, So that's why you need to buy that book. Just move on to the YouTube description below and click on the link to get yours as well. So, talk us about the movement, your damn self movement. What really inspired you to create that movement? Talk us through.
Yeah. What inspired me is a combination of things. I, in my 9 to 5, I'm an executive, and I am the first Black female vice president in my company's division's history. But 10 years ago, I was in an entry level position, an entry level sales role, and I dreamed about getting to this role. And over the years between that point and now, I strategically and prescriptively leveraged my internal work network. So I met people that I never knew. I shared with them the value and the talents and the expertise that I brought to the table. I took the opportunity to learn from other people. And along the way, these were things that I was doing that I felt were normal or expected, and others were taking notice of the things that I was doing. And what I found myself doing was teaching others along the way of how to be intentional and how to be prescriptive in networking, and how to network to the point that is mutually beneficial, not just for you, but for the person that you're engaging with. And what I found out is that over time, that first year, I was promoted into a leadership role by being intentional and prescriptive. And I learned that in certain instances, there are opportunities out there that are not posted on a job board. There are people that are getting promoted because of their network. There are people who are getting to the next level not because of their intelligence or expertise. It's because of their personal brand. It's because of their network and their ability to assert themselves. And I found myself not wanting to keep this information to myself, and I was wanting to share it more broadly. So I was sharing it with my social circles. I was sharing it with my mentees. I was sharing it with my clients. And I wanted to figure out how to share it more on social media. I'm not a fan of the other social media. LinkedIn just felt like the right place to be. It's professionals there. There are over 1 billion connections that are on LinkedIn. And I realized that sharing this information, you don't need a million followers. If you're looking to make an impact, you just need to start by opening your voice and opening your mouth and sharing the value that you can bring others. And that's where I started to see people attracting and gravitating to the Promote Your Damn Self movement. There were people who didn't know how to position themselves as a brand. There were people who didn't know how to have conversations with their leadership team to negotiate a pay increase. There were people that didn't know how to even think about themselves as a CEO how to turn their corporate expertise into something that they can monetize, like a book or a course or a workshop or becoming a speaker. So I created that space, and not too long ago, actually, and we're almost at 200 members in our movement. And that just shows that there was a need and a demand for a space where they felt safe, a space where they felt that they can grow and learn at the same time without being judged or without any punitive consequences. So I wanted a space where people can be vulnerable, where they can learn, where they can grow in a safe space. And I love it because I get so many messages in my direct messages saying, hey, that post that you made inspired me. I got my first speaking engagement, or that post that you made me think a little bit differently about my strategic approach to my career. I'm now having a conversation with my boss around how to build a personal brand. And those are steps toward others building economic empowerment and them gaining permission from me and the movement on how they can show up more for themselves and for their family and for those that look up to them.
Wow. Thank you so much for talking us through about what really inspired you to create that movement. And, receiving feedbacks from people is, builds trust. That shows that you're offering something credible on the table. And I believe that if you're also wanting to join that movement, you have to go over LinkedIn, connect with, Chantel, and join the movement. It will definitely help you as well. So
Absolutely.
let's move forward to the next question. In a nutshell, what are some important strategies you recommend for building a good name on LinkedIn? Talk us through.
Oh, that's a good one. The first thing that comes to mind is a reminder that LinkedIn is more than a jobs board. It's a jobs board that's also social media. So being social is important. Most people use LinkedIn to highlight work accomplishments like a work anniversary or a birthday. It's what you typically see, but it goes beyond that. The thing that I would say in building a good brand on LinkedIn, it's very important for me to highlight safety. So if you're a corporate employee, it is important to at least have an early conversation with your manager or leader. You never want anyone to think that you're going behind their back and looking for a job or being dishonest. Integrity is really important. And I know that not all companies and all leaders will not be supportive of that. And in my book, I explain some strategies on how you can approach building your personal brand and leveraging LinkedIn if you don't have the supportive leadership or work for a supportive company. So beyond that, I would say, LinkedIn honestly is not rocket science. I know that I've made it more complicated in the past than others have. And it does take a little bit of strategy and a bit of hustle. So if I were to break the important strategies down, I would break it down into four things. The first thing I would say is consistency is king. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to post every day or every hour on the hour. I would say at least aim for, if you're new, once a week or at most 3 times a week to keep yourself top of mind. The goal is to stay top of mind with a personal brand. So consistency is going to be king. I would also say, in the vein and in the spirit of promote your damn self, show off your stuff, like share your insights in your field. If you're listening to this episode, you're likely a higher overachiever who's looking to grow where you are and to learn more. So share what you're learning from this podcast or this YouTube video, forgive me. Share things about the challenges that you've had in your career. Share that you're looking to learn something new. So show up and share your stuff. And beyond just content is not just the main part of personal branding. It's about growing your network. So engage with strangers, engage with those that you look up to or admire, that you want to learn from. You will be surprised how often people will drop a note in someone's direct messages and ask for a connection, and they will say yes. And I mean, that goes for leaders, executives, influencers. You want to engage and grow your presence. And the last and the final thing that I would say is be real. I know that I've heard things like LinkedIn is pretentious, everyone's, not themselves there. But people can smell BS from a mile away. So I can't stress enough the importance of being real, leaning into your authentic self, sharing your wins, not being afraid to talk about your struggles or your vulnerability. Vulnerability is actually a magnet. It magnetizes you on spaces like LinkedIn, and in some regards in your career as well. But those are the strategies that I would recommend as you're looking to build a good name on LinkedIn and as you're looking to lean into your presence and your value and your personal brand on LinkedIn.
I believe that that knowledge is more than enough for people wanting to, build a name on LinkedIn because it's worth it. In the beginning, it's not always very sweet, to build a personal brand and to build a good name on LinkedIn. But
Right,
at the end, it's worth it. And I want to add something before we move to the next question. Don't always focus on having, like, you focus on followers only. No, it doesn't entail about having followers means that you're growing on LinkedIn. There's a difference between having a follower and having a community.
right.
Support you, and anytime whenever you're down, they support you. They encourage you. They motivate you to keep going. You draw
Mhm.
strength from them. So these are things you should focus on, and not only followers. You can
Yes.
have 1,000 followers and you don't have anything, and people don't even know what you're doing. So just
Right.
don't just focus on followers, and just focus on having a community that supports you, and community that you also look upon.
Mhm.
So that's the next question for you is, in a nutshell, how do you train diverse talents to use their voice and stand out on LinkedIn? Talk us there.
Yeah. I love this question for so many reasons because I consider myself a diverse talent. And when I look across LinkedIn, it's a great space to network, it's a great space to grow, it's a great place to show up. But I don't see many people that look like me who are doing what I am doing. And for me, to support, to train, to empower anyone, I lean into the fact that I am the first in many things. I mentioned that I'm the first vice president that's a Black woman of color in my company's division. I'm the first generation college student in my family. I'm the first entrepreneur in my family. I'm the first executive professional in my family. So, being the first, it's supported me to empower others. And while my first instances may be milestones and big marquees for people, I realize that oftentimes when I'm engaging with diverse talent to amplify their voice and to speak out on LinkedIn, it's their first time. It's their first time viewing LinkedIn as anything more than a jobs board. It's their first time positioning themselves as anything other than an employee. It's their first time using their voice in a manner that's empowering, inspiring, motivating, and it positions them in a space that they have not had the authority or the power before. And this goes for people who are recent college grads all the way up to executives that I've worked with and everything in between. So, using that space to display, hey, you've done hard things before, because I know it. Many diverse talent have done hard things, and given them the permission to use their voice in a way that they may not have never used it before historically. I also lean into stories. I lean into their stories. I lean into our stories. I lean into experiences to give them the space to let them know that they're not alone in this journey. And that helps a great deal because oftentimes when you're working in your job. You separate who you are as a human. You separate who you are, let's say hypothetically, as a parent or as a friend from the work that you do day to day. So you're constantly battling these intersections of your life, and trying to show up on LinkedIn may feel like you're battling one of those intersections. So giving someone that permission to say, hey, I am the authority in this space, or the permission to say, hey, I've been doing this type of work for X amount of years. I want to speak up more about it. Or, hey, I've been doing all these presentations in corporate America. I want to be a speaker. And how do I position myself as a speaker on spaces like LinkedIn to attract opportunities? So I empower them. I don't want to use the word train. I empower them in a way to use their voice and stand out by helping them think outside of the box. The things that they do every single day in their jobs and in their career can bring value to someone on the other side of that post, or the other side of that message, or the other side of that event that they're looking for someone for, or the other side of that job that the recruiter is looking to hire someone. And in you know, this digital age that we're in right now, it's important to stand out, and position yourself as that authority, because otherwise you'll get absorbed and you'll fade into the background. So I empower them in that regard to use their voice in a way to stand out, by giving them permission, by amplifying their voices, by empowering them to tell their story, even if they came from humble beginnings, because the culmination of who they are, the struggles, the successes, the ups and the downs, make them a powerful personal brand. And I think many people don't realize that their experiences, all of them, make them even more powerful if they can embrace it and own it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much
Mm-hmm.
for talking us through and how you train diverse talents out there, to use their voice, their own unique voice, to stand out on LinkedIn. It's different because everybody has, you know, different type of voices. And do you remember that LinkedIn is not a place to just play around. You need to really know your why, the reason why
Yes.
you're there. You need to also figure out your own unique voice. I know the reason why I'm hammering on unique voice because if you're copying from people, just copy and paste, it's not gonna take you anywhere. Just do your thing, be human, be authentic. So, thank you so much, Chantel, for talking us through about that. So, the next question for you is, in a nutshell, what mistakes do people make when trying to create a personal brand? Talk us through.
Mm. Mm. I think the first thing that comes to mind is this quote: the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Trying to be everything to everyone versus something to someone is the key differentiator in your personal brand. And I think that it's important to lean into that. Like, as you're building your brand, don't think about who you were yesterday or the limitations that have been placed on your life or in your space. Thinking of who you want to become, and you can actually curate that. I'm really big on mindset. I'm really big on intentionality. I'm really big on prayer and manifesting. And a personal brand goes beyond just LinkedIn. A personal brand goes just beyond your career. A personal brand goes beyond social media. And I think that's the mistake that people make, is that they may believe that my personal brand is this box that it just fits in, and it's the brand here for LinkedIn. It's a culmination of every single thing that you've experienced and everything that you are that makes you super powerful as that brand, that makes you stand out. And I even think of it when I first became a keynote speaker, and I didn't believe that I was worthy of 4 or 5 figure speaking engagements. And I started off speaking by telling my story, telling the story of being born to a 15-year-old single mom, growing up in poverty, being rejected by my dad, being the oldest of three siblings. That is my story. And for a while, most of my life, I associated that story with shame because society told me that I needed to be something else. And embracing those things positioned me to be on stages in front of tens of thousands of people telling my story and how I used that experience to catapult me to success. So I would say, as you're thinking about your brand, um, don't think of it as a space or a moment in time. Think of it as the person that you are intentionally deciding to be.
Wow. I believe that the audience now has figured out some mistakes, they have already done or they're doing already, you know, in terms of trying to create a personal brand, especially on LinkedIn, and thank you so much for pointing out those mistakes. And I believe that the audience will adhere to those mistakes and learn from them. So, to the last question for you, Chantel, is in a nutshell, how do you balance originality and professionalism in your own brand? Talk us through.
This is a good one, Ransom. I genuinely believe the only way to do good work and great work is to love what you do. And I love my brand because it's what I do on my 9 to 5. What I do on my 9 to 5 is to support people in a space that empowers them to bring their best self to work. And as a consequence of them bringing their best self to work, our customers benefit, our shareholders benefit, our bottom line benefit. And that's the same with, for me, with personal branding. And I don't necessarily believe, for me, it's a balance of originality and professionalism. It's a brand, it's a blend. It's what I do, it's who I am, it's who I've become. And that's how I own my brand. The way that I show up at work is the same way that I show up on LinkedIn. It's all about empowering, it's all about motivating, it's all about giving people permission in the space to do their best and to be their best. So I don't think that there's anything more original than that because that looks different on a day to day. I'm the same person at the core. But the originality comes from the place of passion. And when I'm able to marry my passion and my professionalism into the brand that most people see on LinkedIn, or the brand that most people see in my book, or the brand that most people see when I'm on a stage keynote speaking. It allows them to see that there is a way to blend both, blending your passions with your professionalism, and that becomes the brand. So that's how I look at it.
Amazing. And it's very important to be original and professional in your own brand as well. And it's
Mhm.
really amazing. And it's just like a stepping stone for people, looking up to you to know that, hey, Chantel, my mentor is original. She's professional. I have to be original as well in my own brand, and also professional in my own brand. So Chantel, you've been an amazing guest speaker today. I really adore you. Thank you so much for sharing your initiative and these amazing, intriguing questions. I know we met students. We asked very intriguing questions, and it's not my fault. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking us through about your book, your journey, and how to help people out there to build their name, a good name as well, on LinkedIn. And so before we wrap up the session, in a nutshell, what are your last words for the audience?
Yes. My last words will be centered around, regardless of where you are in your career or in your life, you think about the people who have quote unquote made it, and you look at them and you place them on a pedestal. And I can assure you almost 100% that each person has dealt with some type of self doubt. They've dealt with some type of insecurity. They've dealt with some type of challenge. And I say this because it's not exclusive to the person that you are. And if you take those things and you turn those challenges and you turn those self doubts or insecurities, actually, if you flip them on their head and you turn them into their superpower, how much more valuable can you be? You'll become Teflon because no one can put you in a place where you're doubting yourself if you know how to doubt your doubts, if you know and own your whole story, and you know the wholeness of you, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the messy, makes you even more powerful than the day before. So that's what I'll leave you all with.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chantel. So today we've come to the end of the session, and if you love this content, do it to subscribe. Very important. Like and share to your network, and hopefully someone in your network will really adhere to this video. So if you also have some questions, you can put it on the YouTube comments, and Chantel will be also willing to answer those questions for you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.